What's going on, everyone? My name is Nicholas Merton here at DataDash, and today is April 29th of 2018. Well, folks, it's time for a daily update here on the DataDash channel. I just got back from Boston, Massachusetts, and today we've got a lot of interesting things to talk about. So let's not push it off any further. First and foremost, as always, we're going to be taking a look at market valuations as well as doing some technical analysis on the market leaders. But outside of this as well, guys, we have some really key headlines to go through. First, we have to talk about the SEC reaching across the board to Congress about having a balanced approach on ICOs. We'll talk a little bit about that later on in the video. Along with that as well, Bank of America going out of its way to close a 3-year-old's bank account, because of alleged activity with cryptocurrencies. So we'll talk about that later on in the video. And last but not least, France going about hopefully cutting down taxes for its citizens in regards to cryptocurrencies. We'll talk about what it means for investors and miners and everyone of the like. So we've got lots of stuff to talk about, guys. Let's go ahead and dive into the daily update. So the first thing I want to talk about here is generally current market stance. For the most part, generally markets are relatively flat over the past 24 hours. We can take a look across the board. We have some players in the green, some players in the red, of course, as always. But really, we have some serious players here to the upside. Players like Nebulous, Waves, Eternity, as well as Ontology. So as we can see a lot of legacy systems doing quite well, some of the legacy protocols and platforms, as well as some of the newcomers like Ontology and Nebulous, Cortex, Alph, Loopring, Stratus, all doing very, very well over the past 24 hours. Whereas for the majority of the market, we're still seeing, again, a flat trend with some players down in the red zone. But for the most part, nothing too serious on the sell side. So because of this, we've generally been accumulating sideways for the past few hours. We did gain a little bit in market valuation. As we take a look here at the past 7 days, we can see that we had about, I think, about $20 billion valuation gain over the past few hours. But then we obviously saw a correction right after, really closing those gains, pretty much making it a neutral day. However, we've started to see a little bit of an uptrend come back over the past few hours. We're starting to see some upside in players like Neo and a few other market protocols that are starting to garner back valuation, and hopefully see if we can test towards a higher level here on market cap as we were for a few hours when we got up from 430 billion at our previous average here to 440 billion. So I think generally speaking, you need a continuation of not only valuation, obviously, but volume to come to the market to really get that valuation growth. And I think that's going to start with Bitcoin predominantly. So as we take a look here at market dominance, we can generally see the story here of what's happening here in the market. We've started to see a little bit of a slowdown, definitely no stop, but a slowdown in market dominance loss from Bitcoin. But at the same time, even as it's slowing down, we're seeing other coins continue to rally towards all-time high in market dominance. So as we can see here, other coins are sitting at 26.8%, and it looks like it's steadfast to go towards 30% over the next week. I think we'll have no problem of reaching that, as well as hopefully seeing Bitcoin dominance continue to deplete, but it's going to depend as to whether or not we see the Bitcoin uptick in price action over the next few days, which we'll go ahead and focus on here. So what's my general consensus on Bitcoin and where we're at right now? Well, I was gone over the past few days in Boston, Massachusetts, so I apologize I haven't been able to cover the markets that much, but really not too much has happened since I've been gone. We've been moving pretty much sideways, a little bit to the upside in market valuation as well as in Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and talk about really the key takeaways here, guys. First and foremost, it's important to note that Bitcoin has shown a very bullish sign in regards to holding support on what was previously resistance in the past at $9,000. We've held here for the past 6 days, and because of that, it's definitely looking like we possibly want to move higher. And now we finally have that opportunity where we have an open candle up above the higher range, and it looks like we might start curving back up to retest that resistance at 9,800, and hopefully have a breakout candle above not only the 200-day moving average where we saw resistance at first, but also a breakout above the key even level of $10,000. It's going to be very, very important to reach above that, and it would be awesome if we got a breakout candle going above that over the next week or so. But until then, I'm remaining neutral on Bitcoin. I think until we get above that 200-day, we have no serious clear signal that it's an absolute bull cycle. We've definitely recovered some from the downside we've seen. No doubt about that, guys. And the volume has been relatively sound, but we don't have that catalyst that's really going to push us for the longer-term uptrend as of yet. So because of that, we're going to have to wait and see what the TA shows us over the next few days. Right now, remaining relatively neutral. Just look out to see if it's going to hold above that $9,000 mark, and I think we're smooth sailing over the next few days and weeks. But next up, I want to spend some time to talk about another market leader that's garnered a lot of my attention recently, Ethereum. has been looking very good. And I'm also going to do something that I don't tend to usually do on the channel, but I'm going to do it because it's definitely important to look at. But along with that as well, many people love to see the USD valuation. Ethereum, both its Bitcoin comparative chart as well as USD chart, is looking very, very nice. We take a look at the Bitcoin chart here. We can see that not only volume is definitely not great, but at the same time it's not terrible. We're starting to see some buy side action come here, and it's coming in right at this key support level at 6,840,000 satoshis. So very good to see that Ethereum continues to garner support at that level. We talk about a lot on the channel, but a lot of that as well, that it's sitting above the 250-day moving averages. So very nice. Looks like it could break out and continue higher and test towards some higher levels around 8 million satoshis. That's really, I think, the next kind of target level where we might see some resistance. But for a player like Ethereum, that's a good percentage, a good sense of percentage gains against Bitcoin. Along with that as well, the USD chart is very important to look at. You can obviously see here that the 50-day and 200-day are below the price, which means that we've gotten up above there. We're starting to garner some price strength confirmation. And along with that as well, we held not only on the 200-day in regards to price, but we've started to see the exact same price action we're seeing in Bitcoin. The correction that we got back here, I think it was on the 25th, sorry. My mic was in the way. I had to kind of like curve around there. That we saw on the 25th, where there was definitely the first real serious day of correction in price for all cryptocurrencies. You obviously saw some volume come in there, but afterwards a curvature back up to the upside and hopefully continue to new highs. I think Ethereum can do it. I think Ethereum is easily going to get up into this range around 800 to 1,000 over the next few weeks. But we'll really have to see if we can get back up to these highs. Keeping it in perspective though, again, Ethereum is at more still, it's still down below a 50% correction from its highs at 1,400, guys. Very important to note on that. So we still have a lot of market players that have not reached anywhere close to their December levels in valuation. So going on here, let's go ahead and take a look at a few more market leaders. XRP BTC, again, same cases I've been talking about, guys, going through a very nice healthy correction. I think that if this can get down to 80,000 again on the 50-day moving average, I would definitely look out for, at least I'm personally going to be looking out for a trade on this. Now, you guys got to see if you agree with me on that in regards to TA. Again, it's not financial advice, but that's what I'm generally looking for in regards to Ripple. Until then, I'm not doing anything with Ripple. It's a little bit too high for me right now. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash, again, had a phenomenal run up over the past few weeks. But again, the same case applies here, guys. We're waiting for a nice technical sign to build, whether that be a wedge, whether that be a bull flag. We need some kind of correction here to solidify price strength confirmation, but at the same time, not lose too much of the gains that we've seen here. We definitely had a lot of nice volume. We're going to have to see if it's going to continue, guys. So going on here, whereas I would usually jump, and again, you guys got to understand that I do all this in one take, and I make mistakes. Whereas I'd usually talk about Litecoin next, we got to give the spot to who properly deserves it according to market dominance, and that is one of the new top leaders, EOS. Now, I think many people have known about EOS for a while, but man, I got to say, to the hodlers of EOS, I've never really kind of so much been bearish on EOS or anything like that, but I definitely have underestimated what's going on with Dawn 3.0 and all the excitement in EOS and the institutional interest, as we can see by the volume that's starting to come in into EOS, especially at these prices, guys. That is phenomenal to see this kind of movement here. So congrats to the longs on EOS. Congrats to those who are currently holding it long term. I will say, however, though, as much as, again, I said that I'm not bearish on the project and what's going on with Dan Larimer and Brock Pierce and everything. Wonderful, wonderful work. But I got to say right off the bat, guys, that we're starting to reach parabolic and exponential price action. So as a trader, if I were in the shoes of someone who bought back here, me personally, I would definitely look towards taking some kind of profit at these levels and then hopefully waiting for a level of support and adding back in if you were really that long term on it. That's me personally. Again, I'm applying a trader's philosophy here, but whereas we had a nice steady uptrend here, we've really started to go exponential here. So as we can see here on the Wix is starting to show that this is pretty exhausted. So we go here on the hourly, we can start to see that this is seeing a little bit correction. It's getting a little more volatile. I think this could see a little bit of cool down over the next few weeks. A good few, I would say a few tens of thousands of Satoshis down. I don't know if we're going to come back down to 130,000 Satoshis. Seems a little bit distant, but at the same time, it's really the last level of support we have to play with. Outside, I would say, another thing, again, checking back in price history is very important, guys. Another thing I'd mention as well, I almost forgot to mention, whereas 130,000 Satoshis would seem like the level to find support, we might also as well find a level of support around here at 160,000 would be much more reasonable. The level we saw back here after the almost parabolic run up on exchange for EOS once it came onto exchange back all the way. Was this back in July of all places? Wow, time flies. I remember when that was launching on exchange. Crazy stuff. Anyways, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at a few more players here. Let's go ahead and go towards where we originally look at Litecoin. Litecoin's still looking like it's going to continue to see rejection at the 50-day and come down to test the 200-day. We'll have to see what happens from there. If we get a breach on the 200-day, my extremely bearish case is that this is going to 1 million Satoshis. If not, however, if we find support there, this could get a breakout above and possibly provide a good trading opportunity. So let's go ahead here, take a look at a few more players. Let's take a look at ADA BTC, Cardano. Cardano continue to rip through, doing very well. I think that what we're going to possibly see is a continuation of this uptick, guys, so long as altcoins generally keep moving up. And hopefully, maybe test around 5,000 Satoshis, see some resistance, and find support at this upper support level of the past where we saw a breach back here in mid-February. So that's what I'm generally looking for ADA. Going on here, let's go ahead and take a look at Icon. Icon continuing to be an icon for this market. God, okay, I'm sorry. That was a really bad pun. All right. Basically, what I'm looking for here is Icon to continue moving upwards. I think that you could see it test back up to this range of 7,000 to 8,000 Satoshis over the next few weeks, guys. But as we're going towards that level, I think what we're going to have to come up with is not only some more upside price action, but a correction to find support at the big even of 5,000 Satoshis, which will then continue to hopefully move up from there. Again, a little bit of a longer time frame, but Icon right now, temporarily is looking very nice smooth uptrend, nothing too parabolic in nature. I mean, we might get parabolic with Icon soon though, wouldn't doubt it. Neo BTC, Neo doing very well and making me quite upset this morning at the same time, because I kid you not, I decided that before I was gonna, when I noticed it this morning, I was looking at Neo's price and I was like, okay, I want to add to my position this morning. I was like, you know what, I gotta get my video out first though. Well, basically, as I've been keeping up with all the news and getting everything ready for the video, obviously Neo decides to spike this morning. Now, why is Neo moving up like this? Why is Neo up 16% comparative to Bitcoin? Very good move for Neo for the day. I'll explain why. Because it did exactly what we were hoping would happen on the price of Neo, and that was after the run up to see a nice correction onto the 50-day moving average. And look at how smooth that rode along the 50-day moving average as it glided down and is now starting to flatten out along with the 200-day moving average, starting to change trend. So with that, Neo is looking very nice. I'm hoping this cools down a little bit. I don't think I'd want to buy it directly after 3 hours of just, uptick in price action. I probably want to wait for it, to cool down a little bit. But after it definitely cools down and finds a nice level of support, I'll surely be picking up some position in Neo, but man, that's crazy volume. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a few more here. Ontology, many people have been asking me about. Let's go here to the daily. Ontology continuing to kill it, guys. We talked about this a while back. We were saying to generally look at, or after the run up we got over here, after the kind of ICO reversal. Again, I guess it's not an ICO, but the exchange launch reversal, I guess in this case in Ontology. Generally speaking, we were hoping for a correction. Now we didn't get it close down to around 3,000 Satoshis, which is what we wanted. But again, we said not to get greedy with this one. And if it starts to uptick again, this is going to keep running. So Ontology has been doing fantastic, doubled yet again from these levels practically. If we take it close to the highs over here, really good job for Ontology. But again, I think I'm going to wait for this to cool down after really really 2 days of double-digit gains for Ontology. So you need to take a little break with this one. Going on here, just to give you guys a little bit of update, many people have asked me about my Q-Link trade. Still currently in this, guys, again, starting to curve back up. Many different projects are showing this trend right now, guys, where it's showing the scoop up of price action, the cupping and price action, where we've gotten not only the cup, but we've also got the flag, where this is looking to have a serious breakout, I think, personally. As again, just me, I like the chart pattern, I like the volume going in through here. It's been holding well in regards to Q-Link, and last but not least, Nulls as well. Got many people requesting that I make this a common one to talk about on the channel. Nulls looking good, guys. Again, one of the small cap plays here that's looking to get back up to those highs, hopefully, with the kind of breakout we saw today, and the volume as well, the highest day of volumes that we've seen since December. So Nulls is looking good on the daily. It's looking good on the weekly. This one looks like, yet again, another protocol that's going to do very well in the upcoming bull run. So Now that we've done some TA here, guys, let's go ahead and dive into the headlines. We've got some very, very important headlines to go through. Nothing too much in regards to developments in the crypto space, but having to do with cryptocurrencies. The first one being the SEC, or a set of individuals from the SEC, reached out to congressional individuals at a hearing on Thursday in regards to having a balanced approach to ICO oversight and regulation. So as we go through here, we can see the big tag headline here is that a U.S. congressman had called for the banning of initial coin offerings during a hearing on Thursday. Ooh, bans. Well, basically, this came about from a representative known as Brad Sherman. He's a Democrat from California. And he basically was calling for the ban on ICOs as we go through here against one of the individuals from the SEC known as William Hindman. And the reason he was calling for this is in this quotation here, and this is basically what he stated. He basically stated that the reason securities markets exist, so for example, the stock market, one of many securities markets exist, is to provide jobs in the real economy. Okay, so it's to pretty much, through the case of what he mentioned, in an IPO, that's what it does. It's where you raise capital, you launch your company publicly on an exchange, and by giving out equity in your company to investors, they provide capital for that equity. And this is what fuels, job creation, innovation by companies, research, development, all kinds of different things like that, real economic development. And though that is true to a degree, the IPO model and equities markets in general, the stock market, they've never been further from reality than they are today. And the reason that is because stock markets have proven, even through whether it be basic IPOs, when companies go listing on exchanges, in those cases, they're aimed at boosting up their stock price, guys. When many startups that are well-formed, well-funded, and doing okay are already operating okay, they list on an initial public offering because they just simply want to boost their valuation, and they're all right with giving a little bit of equity away because it boosts and garners the valuation once it's out there publicly. That's at least what historically happens. IPOs used to be a really good model for up-and-coming manufacturing companies and all these things, but most companies aren't hiring a lot, and you can tell this if you look across the board in the stock market when stock valuations are rising like a rocket over the past few years, yet Main Street has not been feeling the same love as Wall Street. It's become obviously clear that markets are very artificial. Stock buybacks are pushing up the market. Companies are paying out dividends. They're not actually reinvesting into research and development and employing new people. Now, he claims that the ICOs do the opposite. It takes money out of the real economy. Here's the thing about ICOs. I think more than anything, I think more than anyone, I understand how much fraudulent things go in the ICO space. I see it every day. I go across and see all the different projects that are being funded and the amount of money they're raising. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, it would be, I think, idiotic to say that ICOs don't lead to people getting employed, the creation of jobs generally in that case, and a lot of that is well building value in some shape or form in regards to some of the projects that are successful. And again, no matter what, I think people have a right to invest their money in whatever they want, whether they want to invest in it in an initial public offering or if they want to bet it on an ICO. Again, you have to let people make that decision. I think the SEC, at least the individual we were talking about from the SEC, sees that. Hinman is taking more of a fair approach, but we've been seeing this kind of negative stigma from both Congress and the SEC, both of which I'd say more Congress don't really understand what they're talking about or the industry they're focusing on. Most don't have a finance background. And this quote here is pretty good. I'm not saying ban blockchain. I'm saying ban the ICOs. Look, here's the same old argument. Yes, there can be private blockchains. There can be blockchain applications for corporate enterprise. But blockchains do a very select few things good, guys. And that's being a decentralized distributed system that is trustless. You don't need to trust in it. You know that it's going to securely store data that you want or have a ledger that's going to maintain immutability. Okay, these are really the few things that that blockchains do. And if you have all private blockchains, in many cases, you're cutting out a lot of applications for blockchain that can only be met through the projects that are going through initial coin offerings. They need capital to make these things happen because they're not self-funded companies. So because of this, I think the argument of saying, I'm not saying ban blockchain, I'm saying ban the ICOs, is like saying, I want to hydrate people, but we're going to ban the water. Okay. It's like you can't have both worlds. You need to have some way to raise capital. And I would say more than anything, it's awesome to have ICOs, an easy way, at least at its core of what ICOs used to be and what I think they're moving towards more soon with the restructuring of the ICO space, is a decentralized and distributed way where people, whether they be a small investor or a large investor, can participate in making these ideas a reality. It's a very, very beautiful model. So again, you guys can read through that, learn a little bit more on that. That's just kind of a brief summary of what happened in regards to the hearing on Thursday. But again, good to see some developments in regards to talking about these things. It's important. So let's go ahead here and talk exactly about what happened at Bank of America, how a 3-year-old, a family, as well as a management company all lost their accounts with Bank of America. What could have pushed the company to block out all these individuals from their banking process? Well, I want to go ahead and kind of jump the gun here rather than reading through the article word for word, guys, and kind of tell you the brief summary. Again, I recommend you guys read it. It's a very common case, especially out of all banks with Bank of America. And you'll hear me rant and rave with Bank of America more specifically later on. Basically speaking, it all starts with the management company that wasn't mentioned in the headline, but is one of the 3 parties affected. And this management company is a payrolls processing company. They help process payroll in regards to their business operations. And because of that, they're a money service business. So they're an MSB. And MSBs, generally speaking, get polled and asked questions on their business practices and what they've been doing by Bank of America's Money Services Business Control Center. So they got submitted a customer data form. They would just want to know what the accounts are doing, generally speaking, with their money, what kind of business activities they're operating. And as we go through, we can see that one of the last questions here was, does the business engage in virtual, digital, or cryptocurrency activity? So in the poll, however, even though they answered everything, with complete transparency, they answered yes, because the name of the company has crypto in the name. That was the whole kind of segue as to why they do it. Now, they don't work directly in crypto. They work in processing payments, processing payroll. But because they marked yes to this, because they had marked yes on it, just a few days later, they got a submission that not only the account for the management company would be shut down, but that of the family and also the 3-year-old child, whose account, bear in mind as we come back up here, was really only a uniform transfers to minor act account. Basically speaking, it was a college fund. Okay, there's no money moving in and out to Coinbase. There's nothing crazy going on, no gambling with cryptocurrencies as Bank of America would see it. This was simply an account where the family would put $50 a month away for the kids' college fund. It's like a 529 or any kind of college savings plan. And with this, it shows just how downright critical Bank of America is on censoring cryptocurrency engagement. There was no engagement in cryptocurrencies here outside of the fact that they had the name in crypto in their name. Because of this, all these individuals lost their accounts. So you can go through here, learn a little bit more about this crazy case, and oh God, the poor customer service. I mean, I gotta say, as much as I hate banks, at least they provide decent customer service once you get past all the automated telephone voice and stuff that leads you towards where you need to go. I can understand that, but customer service is usually great in banks. This case just proves yet again how crappy Bank of America is as a company and how it processes its employees, to its customers. So I recommend you read through it, but I really got to state here, basically in summary, guys, this quote at the end. I really loved this motto that the father who wrote here in the article stated: ready, fire, aim. Going through the process of absolutely just shutting out or censoring people, your entire customer base, from being able to do business with you because you stereotyped that they did something when they didn't. So again, I think that's Bank of America's policy. If it wants to block cryptocurrencies, hey, I don't think it's a good idea, but yeah, they can do it. They can do whatever they want in that case if they feel it's deemed an issue in regards to regulations or their business model. Let me just go ahead and summarize this as well, that Bank of America was one of the first companies as well to ban credit card transactions for purchasing Bitcoin. Now, on a moral sense, I'm not someone to really borrow money easily, and I don't think I'd ever borrow money to buy crypto, but I'm going to say it's quite ironic how I can go to a casino and borrow $500 and then go gamble it away and lose it all and be $500 in debt or more, and I can't do that with cryptocurrencies. I can't go out there and make a long-term investment in cryptocurrencies. Seems a little bit ironic, but hey, we're talking about banks, guys. Come on, banks don't have to be rational, okay? Or maybe they've got something underlying that makes them seem irrational, that really is just their motives. So, going to more positive news in regards to the last article we talked about, France is cutting the tax rate for retail crypto traders. So this is really good news, guys. As we go across the board here, basically speaking, there was a recent case in France that they had proposed that a lot of individuals were getting overtaxed for basic transactions. And because of that, they went through the French Council of State going about being able to redefine cryptocurrency transactions and make it so that retail traders and investors would pay a tax rate of 17.2% rather than the ridiculous almost 50% tax rate at 45% for cryptocurrency transactions. Now, the reason they were considering this was because crypto profits were under the category of industrial and commercial profits, BIC, in France. So because of that, it was taxing at a very high rate, as if you were a company and your corporate tax rate. That would be what we would generally be calling this in the US. We'd be calling it a corporate tax rate. But we as individuals in the US, we don't pay corporate tax rate, we pay capital gains tax, because a corporate tax is what a business pays on profit. And they were considering this as profit, as if it was a corporate profit. So because of that, guys, this is very good to see that they're talking about at least possibly lowering the tax rate to something more positive. My French viewers out there, very good news for you, very good news. And nonetheless, I hope we see more of this definition in regards to tax law come about, as well as in regulation. Because, look, no matter how you guys feel on taxes and regulations, I think we all agree that we at least like sound tax policy and transparency in our tax laws on what is crypto tax profit and what isn't. Now, it is important to note as well, before we wrap up on this article here, that this is for people investing solely on an individual level for cryptocurrencies. If you are mining cryptocurrencies, meaning if you have a mining rig somewhere in France, as well as any kind of exchange or business where you're building profit off of trading fees, if you're in those categories, which are a much more select few, you still have to pay the same 45% business rate. So, probably not a good place for that to happen. Anyways, that's it for the video though, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys like what you see, please give me a big thumbs up. What do you guys think about all these different issues, the case with France, Bank of America, and the SEC and Congress? I'd love to hear what you all think down in the comments down below, as well as you're currently standing in the current market of things. Do you think we're going bullish? Are we going bearish? Are we still moving up, or are we going to possibly see some sideways price action? Anyways, that's it for the video, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay tuned.